Many of us have set lofty financial goals for ourselves, but I think it's also healthy to look and say, how are other people doing, just to benchmark ourselves. And in today's video, I'm going to go over some data that was recently released by the Federal Reserve. They do a survey of consumer finance every 3 years. And just a couple months ago, they released the latest data. So it'll be 3 years until we see data like this again. So while this data is fresh and still relevant, I wanted to go over it with you. So I'm going to go over not just what a retirement account savings look like, but also checking accounts, net worth, mortgage balance. This video is going to be chock filled with useful information. So let's jump in and let's start off by talking about first what retirement accounts are. Now, I've talked about retirement accounts in the past, and a fair criticism of that was, it was data put out by Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab, so it was one custodian, and many of us have an IRA somewhere and a 401k somewhere else. So the nice thing about this survey of consumer finance is it looks at holistically all of the retirement accounts. And I'm going to go over this number by age. And in the chart, you'll be able to see how that number has changed over time. So not just the 2022 survey, which was just released at the end of 2023, but you'll also be able to see historically how it's changed. Okay, so for folks under 35, the average retirement savings is a little under $19,000, $18,900. For folks 35 to 44, that number jumps up to $45,000. 45 to 54, number jumps up to $115,000. 55 to 64, just under $200,000, $185,000. 65 to 74, the number reaches $200,000 in total retirement savings. And then 75 and older, that number actually goes down to $130,000. And that makes sense because those people have probably been spending money over the last 10, 15 years since they retired. Okay, so that's the total of all the retirement savings. But now let's look and look at it by family structure. I think that's going to be interesting as well. So as of the 2022 survey of consumer finance put out by the Federal Reserve, single parents with children had an average of $24,000 in retirement savings. Single people without children, under 55 years old, had an average savings of $21,000. So you can see it makes sense, right? It's harder to save money if you're a single parent and you have children. Okay, so if you're single with no children but over the age of 55, those folks have right at $100,000 saved for retirement. And then for couples with children, those folks have a little over $95,000. And then for couples without children, they have $135,000. So to me, that's interesting because not only is it age-based, but then you can also identify, what's your situation? Do you have kids? Don't you have kids? Are you single? Are you married? And kind of compare yourself that way. Okay, lots more interesting data to go through. The next one is going to be checking account savings. The previous one was retirement savings, but how much do people have in their retirement accounts? So overall, single with children, $2,400. As I'm going through these numbers, I want you to think, for many people, this is our emergency savings account. So, and I advise people to have at least 3 months of emergency savings, preferably closer to 6 months of emergency savings, and that's 6 months of living expenses. Single with no children, less than 55 years old, that's $4,000. So the average wage in America is a little over $1,000 a week. So that's about 4 weeks worth of savings. So they're on the low end, but they could have money somewhere else. Ideally, I would like to see this number be closer to $15,000 to $30,000, let's say. Okay, single, no children over 55, that number is $4,300. Then couples with children, just overall, no age category on that, that's $12,500. So you can see it's getting closer to that 13 to 26 weeks, which would be 3 to 6 months. And then couples with no children, it's at $16,000 in the savings account. And I should say these are medians. I've likely been saying average, but in all of these numbers I'm sharing in today's video, I've been careful to take median because I think it's more reflective of reality. If you take an average and somebody has $1 million in their checking account, don't do that. There are FDIC limits, above which you're essentially an unsecured creditor to the bank. So keep it within FDIC limits. And there's ways to couple those. But in all these cases, I'm talking about the median. Half the people have more in their savings account, half the people have more in their retirement account, whatever it is, half have less. Okay, let's keep going. So the next category we're going to talk about, we talked about the savings account by family structure, with kids, without. And now we're going to talk about savings accounts, checking accounts by age. So less than 35, that number is 5,400. Again, remember the goal here is 13,000 for the average American worker, 13,000 to 26,000, let's call it 15 to 30,000. 35 to 44 is 7,500. 45 to 54 is 8,700. 55 to 64 is 8,000. 65 to 74 is 13,400. And 75 and older is $10,000. So you can see as people get older, they're closer to that 13 weeks. Okay, let's keep going. Hopefully that was helpful. The next one we're going to talk about is what's people's net worth by age. And remember, net worth is just simply the value of the assets that you have less the liability. So for most of us, our most valuable asset is our home. So that would be the market value of the home if you were to sell it, less any mortgage that you have on it. Another asset would be your car, less any car loan that you have on it. Any bank accounts, any savings account, less any debt. So it's assets minus liabilities. And here we're looking at people less than 35. What's their average net worth? It's just under $40,000. Then 35 to 44, it jumps up to $135,000. Okay, net worth for 45 to 54 is just under $250,000. Net worth for 55 to 64 is $365,000. And then 65 to 74 continues to climb, $410,000, which is something I often see is early on in retirement, the net worth actually climbs. And then it starts going down. You can see here 75 and older, the net worth goes to $334,000. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Like I said, it's helpful to have your own internal goal. It's also helpful to know what other people are doing and to benchmark against yourself. And on that topic, I want you to think about watching this video here, where I go through what the average income is for a retiree. I'll see you in this video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.